Hello and welcome to Inside Music, episode number 119. I'm your host, James Shotwell, and it's great to be with you again. My guest this week is none other than Barely Civil, one of the most promising indie rock bands to rise out of the Midwest in recent memory, and I'm very thrilled to have them on the show. Two of the members, Isaac Marquardt and Connor Erickson, are here to discuss the history of their band, the origins of their Take This to Heart Records debut, and a whole lot more. We talk a little bit about songwriting, a little bit about song titles, and a lot about growing up in the Midwest and taking pride in the fact you're from a place most people have never heard of. That's always what attracts me to bands in the Midwest. Everyone seems to think that the big goal in music is to move to one of the coasts and make it big in the big city, but all the great Midwest bands know that you don't have to go anywhere to build a legacy. In fact, a lot of the bands that resonate the most with listeners are those who never leave their hometown, those who are able to find something unique about where they're from as a source of inspiration and use that to their advantage. And that's what I think Barely Civil has done. Their debut album on Take This to Heart Records, which is due out March 2nd, is a collection of songs about life and growing up and traveling and trying to find out how to exist in this crazy world that honestly took me by surprise. I've been hearing a lot of good things about the band, and we talk a little bit about the hype that's around them, but when you hear the album in full, man, it's just something special. There is something really special about this band, and I hope I was able to capture a little bit about what makes them so great in this interview with Connor and Isaac, because they're really great guys, and I think that they deserve the world, and I'm excited to share the conversation with you today. Before we get there, there's a little bit of housekeeping I wanted to do. First and foremost, if you happen to catch episode 119 with Jenna McDougall that no longer exists, consider yourself lucky. That episode was pulled for reasons that we're not able to get into right this time, but it may appear again in the future. Second, this episode of Inside Music is brought to you by Holix, the music industry's leading promotional distribution company. Now, what that means is that Holix works with record labels, managers, and independent artists from all over the world to share new and unreleased music without fear of piracy. Should leaks occur, Holix has the ability to figure out not only who is responsible for leaks, but to stop them as well. For information on how they do this and a lot more, visit Holix.com. That's HAULIX.com. You should also be following Inside Music on Twitter. It's at Inside Music Pod or at Inside Music POD. And finally, support Barely Civil. Their debut album arrives on March 2nd and it is available for pre-order right now. You can stream a brand new song on Substream Magazine, a song that I'm going to play a clip for you of right here. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Thank you so much for listening. This will be this isn't a first. We've had a couple of episodes where there have been more than one guest at the same time, but just for the sake of clarity, real quick, can you each kind of introduce yourselves so that people listening will know whose voice is whose?
Sure. I'm Connor Erickson. I'm the vocalist and guitarist for Barely Civil.
I'm Isaac Marquardt. I play drums in Barely Civil.
Now, Connor, before you joined the call, Isaac was attempting to recount the Marvel origin story of the band for me, but he said you tell it even better than he does. So why don't you give us your version, and I'll maybe we'll splice them together.
Got it. So basically the way the band started was Isaac and I have been friends since we were young lads. We've been friends since we were about 5 years old. And growing up, I was always interested in music. I was interested in guitar, but I never wanted to learn how to play it. I just wanted to seem cool holding it. But Isaac was a really talented drummer, even from like a really young age. So we grew up just like playing music together or like pretending to play music together. And then when we got into high school, we decided to sort of take it more seriously. And we had met some people. We had met some people through our school years who were totally down to start a band. We met most of them through the high school band program, um, where Isaac was a percussionist and I was a trumpet player, and we sort of all connected through that, and we pulled together this band, and we played pop punk covers, and essentially lived as a Green Day tribute band until we decided to sort of make a shift towards more original content, and creating songs that felt more like a sound that was distinct to our own. Um, and after a few lineup changes, we ended up here as Alex Larson, Ben Forrest, Isaac Marquardt, and Connor Erickson, all being Barely Civil, and an emo band from Wausau, Wisconsin, which is kind of unheard of in this point in time. So, yeah.
Yeah, explain to me how the band, I guess, functions, because as Isaac was explaining it, you guys all go to different schools. Well, three of you go to different schools, and one of you is just kind of out in the workforce. But like, how do you? I mean, when do you find time to do band things? I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, so it's a really fortunate situation in the fact that our hometown, where we all grew up, and where our bassist goes to school, is like a perfect center point for all of us to travel. It's about 3 hours out from where our guitarist Alex lives in Minneapolis, and it's about 3 hours away from where I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And Isaac sits in Oshkosh, which is a perfect center point between Milwaukee and Wausau. So I pick Isaac up, and we all convene in Wausau, where we get together and rehearse. And we've sort of set the schedule for ourselves of trying to get together at least twice a month, to rehearse and to write. And honestly, ever since we left for college, we've been, I think, more driven to ensure that we get together to create, because I think that distance from each other, just as like really close friends, is kind of hard. So I think having this band has really helped us and pushed us to get together and like still connect with each other. So I think we use that sort of friend connection as like a driving force to make time to get together. And I mean, like, we all have our own jobs and stuff like that, that we set aside certain days to, we take a weekend off if we can, and we get together and we rehearse and we write. And it's a nice way to sort of like break up the college and workforce life.
Now, who does the promotional work for you guys? Like, how did you guys get your name out there? Because you come from a place where I guess most people don't think of there being any kind of scene whatsoever. So, as I've been kind of, I have my ear to the industry and everything, and people pitch me things. But you've been a band that I've heard on the people's lips for a little bit now, and it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, I don't know where you came from, and obviously you just told us. But in terms of like, how did you get to this point? Like who in the band is that force for you guys? Like, who's the one that's been helping? Is it all of you collectively?
It's James Cassar,
The fifth member of Barely Civil.
basically. No, sorry. I was doing a lot of our promo work and stuff, like emailing venues if there was a cool show coming through and begging to be led on it and never succeeding. And I met James through the internet because of the column that he wrote for Property of Zach. And I included our original 4-song demo with that. And for some reason, he listened to it and liked it. And he and I remained friends. And then around the time that we recorded this album, he proposed actually managing us instead of just like helping us out with PR. And so that's really where a lot of the more recent hype has come from, is his connections.
It's been interesting to see, and he is a great person to kind of have behind you because he doesn't stop. Like he and James from Take This to Heart have both been like, you need to listen to this band. And since I'm also named James, it's this weird peer pressure.
I think yeah, it's been a beautiful experience to have like people who, I mean like growing up in Wausau, and even just like existing as a musical group in Wisconsin, you have like your friends who back you and support you, but there's not like a booming music scene going on right now. And so to have people who are fully behind what we're doing and fully behind what we're putting out to the world, and who are willing to push it with the like amount of drive and force that like James Cassar and Joe Urban have been been pushing it. It's like it's such a cool experience, and it's also like one that we're very lucky to have. And I think it's something that like I said, like Isaac and I have known each other since we were 5, and I don't think if we like went back and told our like 12-year-old selves that one day we would have people who, you know, don't know us like in like a person on person level, have like heard our music and over the internet or whatever, and just like really liked it and connected with it and wanted to push it. Like I don't think we ever would have believed that was like a real thing. So it's just really cool that that's our current situation.
Yeah, when did Take This to Heart come into the picture? And how did that come together? I mean, obviously, I'm going to guess James had a hand in that, but in terms of like when did they enter the picture? Like, were you already kind of working on this record at that point?
Take This to Heart actually came into the picture last year ish, around last December, as in December 2016. We had recorded an EP that is not on the internet anymore, and we were looking for labels to release it. And one of the ideas that James had was Take This to Heart, who Joe liked the album, but he felt like it was a little bit too roughly recorded, I guess, to put out on T3H. But he always kind of kept his ear on us. And so then James decided that he would be a good person to pitch the record to once it was finished. And obviously he was a good person to pitch it to.
So when did you actually start working on this record? And am I supposed to assume that the songs that were on that EP that are no longer online, that those kind of make their way into this new album?
Actually, none of the tracks that are
That's
on that
fantastic.
original EP made it over to the new record. And it's not to say that they're tracks that we're like not happy with or anything. They're very much you know, tracks that we love, and we still play some of those tracks in our live shows. But working on this record came about when we were all sort of separating for school, and I had sort of I kind of in my headspace at that time, I was really focusing on I'm a person who has a lot of difficulty with change, and so I sort of started reflecting that in my writing for the band, and all my songs sort of started centering around the difficulties behind like leaving something you were comfortable with and moving somewhere else, because I had just moved to go to college, and so when we started writing this record, we sort of decided it had to be its own sort of thing, because it's a very cohesive, collective concept about existing in a new space and the struggles that come along with that, and the insecurities that exist when you're alone, and like living life as a grown person who doesn't have really anybody to fall back on anymore. So it became its own thing, and that's why I think we didn't want to use any of those tracks on this record, just because contextually they didn't exactly fit with this record.
That makes sense to me. Will those songs find their way online at some point in the future, or is that just like a part of the past we're moving on?
We have some plans for at least half of the tracks from that EP. We have some ideas for, so We'll see, I guess, is the best answer I can give.
Yeah, the big secret right now, though.
The big
So.
secret. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with secrets. Well, let's talk about the record because I don't know if you heard me earlier, Connor. I was talking to Isaac, but I was telling him that I've been able to spend a little bit of time with the album and I really enjoyed it. I feel like I understand the hype. I get it. I'm on the train.
Awesome.
I've climbed
Thank
aboard.
you.
It was funny because James was like, James was asking me what I thought about it, and I was like, I think the last song is their best song, and he was like, that is dark. And I was like, I didn't think about it beforehand, but I guess. And for everyone that doesn't know, that song's called "I Am Drowning," so I guess that alone would inform them that it's pretty dark. But I want to start there because I know that you've maybe done some talking about the singles and stuff, but that song sticks out to me. So like, can we start at the end and you kind of tell me where that comes from?
Yeah, absolutely. I Am Drowning is actually a really interesting song. I wrote that song at 3:30 in the morning. Um, I'm the kind of person where like I have very vivid dreams, and I had this very distinct dream of a person from my past, who's still a part of my life, but no longer in the way that they were. Uh, she was sort of like just like meandering around my home, in this dream that I was having. She was like meandering around my home, and she just like would casually say my name every now and then she like walked outside. And in this dream, I just decided to get up and go see what was going on. And as I got up, like the ground beneath me just became water, and I was sort of like I fell in and I was just like drowning. And that's when I woke up from that dream. And everything about that song is literally just a direct uh, reference to what went on in the stream that I had. I had like woken up and started writing with enough time to just like get it all down so I didn't forget it. And I pieced together that song, and I feel like that song is such a strong closer to the record, because I think that was at that point, when I had that dream, it was like the first time that I had realized that I wasn't really great at being out and about in the world on my own, and that it was something I needed to work on, and that life had gotten very different. And so I think having that track close out the record just like really ties up the entire concept of the record very nicely. Um, and so I think it was just a really fortunate, weird situation to have that dream. But I'm glad I did.
Do you write from dreams a lot?
Um, yeah, I mean, I work a lot uh from dreams, and from just like I have this process where whenever I have like um let's say like darker feelings or like thoughts that aren't necessarily like happy thoughts, I like to write them down, um on paper, just like snippets of them, or in my phone, just so I have like a track record of what's going on in my brain, because I feel like it's a nice way to cope with those ideas and those thoughts, is to like sort of put them on paper so they become less significant and more just words. Um, and so I pull from that a lot, because I like to use our music as a way to sort of cope with the difficulties I'm having in life. And that's not to say that, every track on the record is necessarily sad, or it's not to say that every track on the record is like hopeless. I mean, like, there's a track off the record, "You Escape Me with a Baseball Bat," that's very much, it's about finally coming to terms with like the fact that I do like myself, and I'm finally like content with feeling like I can show myself some care. So it's really like I pull from whatever's going on in my mind, and sometimes it is from dreams. I do like to keep sort of tabs on what I'm thinking of at all times.
Speaking of baseball bat, that is the next song people are going to get to hear, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I want to get back to baseball bat, but let's talk about Eau Claire first. I'm saying it horribly wrong, aren't I?
No, that's
Actually,
perfect.
that's
Eau
right.
Claire?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just gotta
Yeah.
you just gotta pause one time, right? It's Eau Claire. Oh, Claire.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
perfect. I used to live in Minneapolis, and I would have to drive back to Michigan, where I live now. So I know only all the towns on 94, basically. Like
Got
that's my working knowledge of your state.
it.
So what made Eau Claire the first single you wanted to put out from this record, and then why follow it up with Baseball Bat? Because they are. I mean, I get it from this idea that they showcase two very different sides of the record, but I'm curious why Eau Claire came first.
I think Eau Claire was a perfect introduction to us, because I think something that's really something a lot of people have sort of pointed out about our band is that we're one of the few bands from Wisconsin that's not like afraid to talk about the fact that we're from Wisconsin. And the thing with Eau Claire is that it's definitely, I think for people who have never heard us before, it's a really solid representation of of what we aim to, the atmosphere we aim to create with our music and with our live shows, which is this sort of, we've constantly strived to make our main goal has always been comfort, and trying to make sure that people, whether they're listening to our music or seeing us live, that they understand that they are in a place where we're going to talk a lot about how we're feeling and where we're coming from, and that they're definitely more than welcome to communicate that back to us. And Eau Claire sort of embodies this very spacious and lax view at something that was a very personal situation to me, and something that really shook up my life a little bit. And so I think as an introduction to our band, I think it was the best way for us to show new listeners that we are totally and completely open about who we are as human beings and where we come from and where we're going, and that we're willing to sort of be there to listen and relate to. And I think that's probably the biggest thing about Eau Claire, is that it's just a very relatable situation.
And then you touched on kind of how Baseball Bat is a bit more positive, but coming off Eau Claire being the introduction to the album, what makes Baseball Bat the fitting follow up?
Yeah, I think the thing about You with a Cape, Me with a Baseball Bat is that, especially coming after Eau Claire, it's far more heavy-handed. It's groovy, and it's very punchy, and it's got a sort of grungy vibe to it, with the lick just being very like, it's very saturated and very like, it's like, it is very like creamy, and I think it's definitely a huge separation from Eau Claire, and using that as sort of our second way to say, hey, we're a band. uh, um, I think it's just, we wanted to put that out to sort of be like, this is our introspective side, where we share how we're feeling, and sometimes it's not the happiest, but we're going to share it anyways. And now we're stepping into a realm of like, we can also love ourselves and have fun, and we can, if you want to listen to us for those more introspective songs, there's a lot of those on this record for you. And if you want to listen to us for something that you can just dance to and enjoy yourself and feel good about yourself, we have songs for you, for that sort of listener as well. So I think that contrast definitely shines with Baseball Bat.
Now, is the plan to release a third song before the album comes out in March, or is this the last one we get?
There is a third single that's going to be released later on, I think this month still. It kind of combines the introspective aspects of Eau Claire with the more almost danceable parts of Baseball Bat. That I think it's a good combination of the feelings of the other two. It's a good way to kind of present what we're really like. And then there's a full album stream before the album release.
So what song will that be? The next one, title
That
wise.
that
What's this?
song is Super 8 Marathon. It's the
Okay.
second track on the album.
The longest song on the album, which I was gonna get to anyways. I
Yeah.
like it. I like it. I had a guess that it was either gonna be that song or Re or Lungs, which is it's a hard. That's a title that's weird to say out loud. Re or Lungs,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I really love that song, so I figured it was one of those two. Why Super 8 Marathon is the longest song on the record, so that's an interesting choice for a single.
Yeah, I think the thing about Super 8 Marathon is that for the last like I want to say like last like 6 months since we finished writing the record, that track has really stood out as one that when we play it live, people rock with it and people really get into it, and you know that song is all it's like Isaac said, it's a perfect sort of combination of that introspection that you get with Eau Claire, as well as the sort of bombast that you get with baseball bat. And I think while it is the longest song on the record, so it's like it is a little weird for a single. It's still probably the I personally think like it's my favorite on the record. It just I think uh, it's really easy to just like sink into and sort of vibe with and dance around to, and also it's just a lot of fun to sing along to. And I think putting that out as a single will really allow people uh, to come to our shows and feel like there's sort of like this communal activity with it, and there's sort of like a everybody can get into it, and so I think putting it out before the record comes out is going to be important in that aspect of giving people who come to our shows something that they can really uh, put themselves in those experiences, in those live experiences. And that's what I'm most excited about with that record, with that track being the third off this record.
Let's talk about the album title because I like it. I love it. Well, for starters, I want to know if it's a reference to where you come from because I love the Midwest pride, being a Midwest kid myself. But it also just kind of sticks with you. Like I think album titles are hard to begin with,
Yeah.
and this one is manages to be 5 words, but it's still catchy, which I think is an accomplishment in itself. So when did you settle on that? Like, what made that? What made "We Can Live Here Forever" the right title?
Yeah, so we tossed around a lot of ideas for album titles, and we thought we had found the one going into recording it. But sort of by the time we finished the record, um, we wanted to we wanted we wanted the first thing that people saw to be sort of encapsulating of what the record is about, um, because the entire record is sort of a journey from from entering a new place in my life to then realizing that like I'm so I'm like so stressed about this situation, but no matter what and no matter where I am and no matter the people I'm with, if I'm enjoying myself and if I'm with people I love and care about, then I'm going to be forever in a place that I am comfortable and content, and I'm home in that space. And so we can live here forever is sort of this it's sort of this reference to this idea that, you know, being outside of your comfort zone and experiencing life on a new level is scary, but it's something that you sort of sink into, and when you find the people that you care about and the things that you love doing, that's the space that you can just exist in and find solace in. And so I think we can live here forever just really it really pieces together the entire sort of idea of the record.
I follow. I follow. I like that. I like an album title that has a real meaning behind it, and you aren't like, well, it's a line in a song, and it's we like it.
Right.
Now, I'm curious because of your situation where you're all in school, you're all kind of chasing passions of your own outside of the band. When it comes to, I guess, the album comes out here in a month, and then I see you guys have an A show up on your upcoming schedule. Like, for you both, what, I guess, where do you hope to go from here with the band? Like, do you look at the album releases like the album comes out and then we try to get to here, or where is this all going?
Personally, I'm I'm kind of waiting to see what happens with the record because the band is what I would really like to do. I'm going to school and it's a good time. I'm majoring in something I actually enjoy, but I've always wanted to do music and going actually doing things with this band like going on tour made me realize that I really don't want to do anything other than that. Um, so I'm waiting to see where this record takes us.
Yeah, I think for me personally, I, I go to school and I study film and photography, and those have been huge passions of mine. But I find myself uh, uh, constantly thinking about not how I can fit music into that, but how I can take those two things that I'm studying and wrap them into my passion for music. And so, I've been emphasizing more of my film study on looking at shooting and directing music videos and working with bands for photography needs, and that's I've just found myself naturally working that in. So I think it's really safe to say that all of us really see this band as our like the focal point of our life, and it has been for a long time now. Um, and so wherever our music takes us is where it takes us. But I don't think like if the album bombs, like it's like we're still gonna be out here in Wisconsin pumping out new music and playing shows, and like we're nothing. I don't think there's really anything that could stop us from just like nonstop getting together and making music, because that's like for the last 4 or 5 years that's all we've really ever cared to do. So
I like that. No, I like that answer. Speaking of additional material, I know you have these songs from the EP that you're kind of planning and plotting with right now, but are you the type of band, like, are you guys always writing? Do you already have more material ready to share? Maybe not recorded, but that you're working on?
yeah, we the moment we actually uh we scheduled uh the recording dates to make this record, and then finalized what tracks were going to be on it, and then like a week later started writing for our next release. So we've been working on new material for a good while now, and we're really liking the direction we're moving for whatever our next release is going to be. um, and we hope this record makes people as excited as we are for what's to come in the future with this band and with our sound. Yeah,
And
we're definitely excited.
as far as the road goes, I imagine probably not much till summer, but are you guys going to get out there a little bit more as we get warmer outside? I imagine you're also in a frozen hellscape right now, like I
Yeah,
Oh
yeah, we
yeah,
definitely are.
am.
it's either constantly snowing or it's too cold to snow. So that's where
Um,
we're at right now. But we're gonna be out on the road again in March with a band from Illinois called Bristletongue, who are super good. So that's really exciting. And then yeah, summer obviously is gonna be the big one for us as far as like touring.
All right, that sounds good to me. I wanted to ask, since we just talked about Bristle Tongues that you'll be touring with soon, you guys are a band that is getting a lot of attention right now from people that kind of, are those influencer types in the alternative community. So what are some bands you guys have been into that the rest of us should be checking out? Who are you going to help lift up?
I think lately, big bands for me right now that I've been absolutely loving. I adore the Insides from Philadelphia. We went on tour with them in December, and I'm not just saying it because they're amazing people. Their music is also phenomenal. So that's the Insides from Philly. I definitely can't wait for their next release. Bristletongue is, again, amazing human beings, but also amazing musicians. Their EP that they just dropped, Femme Florale, is phenomenal. I guess as far as like other bands that I've been nonstop listening to lately, I love Oso Oso, and I'm so happy to see that he signed on to Triple Crown, and that's amazing. Go Oso Oso. I also just got my Two Nights effing vinyl in today, which I'm super excited about. I love Two Nights, and I really love Field Medic. So those are bands I would say go check out.
Yeah, personally, I Animal Flag is like the greatest band to ever exist. There's a lot of like friends that we have. I can't even think of any because it's a lot of pressure. There's a band that we played with in Ohio on our last tour called Pool Boy, and I was packing up drums in the green room and listening to their set, and they were like making me cry because they were so good. And so they're like the only band that I've cared about for about a month now.
I
That's
would
about
also
all.
say, there's a sort of lo-fi folk band, or solo artist, sort of, in Madison right now, who goes by the name Tom Danks. His SoundCloud is The Real Tom Danks. I would highly recommend that. He's, again, an amazing human being making amazing music right now. So.
Well, that's great, guys. I thank you so much for taking time to talk to me. I know it was kind of like a rocky start, but I've been really digging the record, and I wanted to talk to you about it because I like what you're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us, and like we really appreciate it. I'm really sorry that my mic wasn't working.
Don't even worry about
I'm glad
it.
we were able to work it out because this has been a lot of fun.
No problem at all. I want to end on something a little bit silly, just because I've been asking this question to some people recently, because I feel like there's this weird resurgence that is not at all. There's no way that everyone's working on this together, but there's been this interesting resurgence in like sillier song titles as of late. And as much as you have some very like straightforward song titles on this record, I've been getting headaches lately, and you with a cape, me with a baseball bat. So what is the process for titling things in your band?
Yeah, we went through this sort of span in time where we were very serious about titling our songs, and they were to be directly related to what was going on. But then it hit a point where Isaac would just text me words and just be like, this is a good song title, and we would just find a song to apply it to. I think on our record, probably the title that is probably the silliest that people won't realize is a silly title is "You with a Cape, Me with a Baseball Bat." It sounds intense, but that was an actual like quote that came out of Isaac's mouth when we were playing Super Smash Bros. After a band practice one day. So, inspiration comes from all corners of the world.
No, I like that, and that's one of those cool deep facts now that the people listening can carry with them.
Exactly.
There you go. That's inside music stuff, which is exactly what this show is called. So there we go. It was a perfect full circle moment. Well done. Well done. Now we have to end it because like we've peaked. We've hit our point.
Roll credits, man.
Thank you guys so much. The album comes out, just let me be sure here. The album comes out March 2nd.
Yes.
Okay, take this to Heart Records. Pre-orders are available now.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, and you guys have shows coming up. What's the easiest way to keep up with you guys? You Twitter people, Facebook, Instagram. What is the thing you use the most?
If you want fully serious,
sorry.
if you want fully serious marketing, check out our Facebook, because James doesn't let us post on there. If you want to also get information, but also communicate with us. We check our Twitter nonstop.
Okay. All right. Everyone, go tweet at them right now. Is it just Barely Civil? Is it Barely Civil Tweets? What is it?
It's
It's
barely underscore
Barely
civil.
Civil with an underscore between the words. Yeah.
Okay, guys. Go tweet at Barely Civil. Tell them what you think. And by the time most of you are hearing this, the new song, the new song should be out, right? Do you know where it's premiering?
Substream.
Substream, which is perfect because I actually am the music editor there, so I was just leading you into it.
Great.
All right, guys. Thank you so much again for talking to me. Any last thoughts? Anything else? Do we miss anything?
Thank you very much for having us on. Jetty Bones is the greatest band around, and yeah, thanks. Appreciate it, my guy.
Heart Records is great.
Yeah.